Yes, hello everyone. It is 3 o'clock and I think we should get started. Hopefully everyone is arriving or will arrive in the next minute or so. So we're back with another SOCAS webinar and we are excited to welcome you to one of our favorite sessions, the radio website Smackdown. So we have some amazing panelists joining us today and I can't wait to introduce you to them momentarily. I'm Carol Gagne. I'm an account executive here at SOCAST, and I'll be your host today. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, during our website Smackdown webinars, we normally invite a panel of experts to get their insights on radio stations' websites. So we've had tons of website submissions this year, which is incredible. A big thank you to all of you who submitted your websites to us for review. Sadly, we can only have enough time to review 3 sites today. So for any websites we couldn't get to today, we'll follow up with a review from our experts here at SOCAST. So if you have any questions during the session, feel free to submit them in the sidebar to my colleague, Shay. Now, Shay is standing by. She's monitoring those. So if we don't get to your questions, don't worry. We'll definitely get back to you in no time. And as always, we welcome all questions and feedback. Also, feel free to connect with us on Twitter at SOCAS Digital or use the hashtag Digital Dollars. So I'd like to kick things off with a word from our sponsors here at SOCAST. Built for radio in mind, SOCAST transforms broadcasters into digital businesses by making digital programming and advertising easy. So we do that with our unique combination of integrated digital platform, innovative digital partner, training, and enablement. So we're not just an out-of-the-box vendor. Why do we host these website Smackdowns? Because your website is the cornerstone of your digital engagement strategy and the starting point to your single dashboard to manage your digital. And if you'd like more information, send me an email, carol@socastdigital.com, or contact Shay, my colleague. As I mentioned, she's in the sidebar and she'll give you more details on how to contact us. So today we are joined by 2 experts. We've got digital.com connector Seth Ressler from Jacobs Media back for another session. His programming and digital expertise has taken him across the country. And as a broadcasting veteran, he has plenty of experience in the radio industry. So over the past 2 decades, he has worked in almost every area of radio, from behind the mic to programming desks. Working in major markets throughout the country, he's known as the digital dot connector. Seth is dedicated to helping radio broadcasters grow and thrive in the digital world. So thank you for joining us today, Seth.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm feeling particularly judgmental today, so this is good.
Wonderful. Okay. And I am super excited to introduce our very own client success expert, Marley Reish. Now, Marley has been instrumental in helping our partners create exceptional radio station websites. So bringing a wealth of knowledge on how to grow both from an engagement and a revenue perspective. So she has joined us today to share her insights, and thank you very much, Marley. Much appreciated.
Thanks, guys. It's my first website Smackdown, so excited to do it.
Great, great. And we're so happy that we have you here. So let's get started today. Today we're going to talk about what makes a successful radio station website. There are many factors to consider. And as we examine the overall website design, we'll also look at how appealing it is to the audience. So, how strong is the station's branding? How easy is it to navigate? Can you find quality content there? Are there any valuable resources on the site? We're going to check out the social integration as well as advertising and any other revenue generating opportunities. So as usual, we will examine the following criteria. So design, branding, social media, navigation, user experience, and revenue generation. So let's head over to our websites. So here is the first website. So we're going to start off with a travel radio site. Again, we'll be focusing on four main areas: user experience, user engagement, revenue opportunities, and social media. So starting with you, Marley, what do you think of this site's look and feel? And are there any tips for a travel radio group?
So with this landing page, I really like it. I like the hero. I like how large it is. This listen live button is the first thing that's seen on the site. And if the goal is to play the stream, then they're obviously achieving that. So I really like that on this first page. I like that you can see their logo very clearly. Um, the this first landing page is great. The only suggestion I would have is it's not very clear what we'll be listening to when we select on that listen live button. Um, for us, we had a discussion of whether we were listening to music for actually being on vacation. But what we're seeing in the tabs above is there's a lot of content that's for travel information. And so that is just a little bit confusing on what we should be listening to here. As you scroll down on this page, we do get that sense almost immediately when you see the now playing, which is great. We can see that music, but I think to be on this first page and to know what we're coming to, that would be beneficial.
Okay.
The only other suggestion here is it's a little bit difficult to see those menu items. I would probably like to see them a different color.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That's great. So is there anything else you would like to add, Seth, from a user experience standpoint? Like how does this website stand your test?
Yeah, so I agree with everything Marley said. I mean, what I really like about first of all, the dog is awesome. Uh, and I'm not even a dog person, I'm a cat person, but I really like the dog. But the website's very clean. And I think a lot of radio station websites feel this need to just cram everything onto the homepage. And I really like that this doesn't, that it resists the temptation. There's clearly one thing that they want you to do when you come to this station, and that's click that listen live button and stream the station. And I think that's really important. I think, radio stations should ask themselves, what are the things that we really want people to do when they come to the website, and elevate those most important things, and frankly remove a lot of the others. I mean, it's great if they read a bio of the DJ or whatever, but that's not the main thing that you want them to do. So I wouldn't put it front and center. So that listen live button is great. I agree. I don't know what we're going to get exactly when we tune in. I assume it's going to be Anthony Bourdain, like, is talking or something. I'm not really sure. But it does look like there's some music, and I have no idea what type of music it would be. So I would like maybe some indication of exactly what I'd hear if I tuned in. But I do like the very clear call to action.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Very insightful. So scrolling through here, Marley, can you offer any suggestions to improve the quality of the website?
Um, like Seth has mentioned, I think all of these sections are very clear in, what we're doing here, and it's quite a clean website as well. Um, One item here, sorry, Carol, if you can scroll up to the latest news.
Okay.
Sorry, just scroll down, just on the homepage. So for the latest news, um, my suggestion here, I really like these blog list layouts. I think they're really great, and I think having three main items on here as news to draw people to is great as well. Again, for these latest news items, they don't look like they pertain to the website. So for me, I would maybe leave them in the news blog menu tab. As an option for more news, and just have these potentially more geared to maybe local news or travel news, since that seems to be a big part of why people are coming here, and like travel information. So that may be more beneficial on this homepage. Um, yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you so much. So we are going to take a look at our second website here. And this is the second website. And it is ilovethepromise.com. So it's Jacksonville Radio. It is a multi-tenant website, and the multi-tenant is Jacksonville Radio. So my first question is to you, Seth. From a user experience perspective, how does the site stand the usability test?
Yeah. So you can see right away the contrast between this and the last one. The last one was real clean. It didn't feel crowded, or, I mean, I'm a little claustrophobic listening to this, or looking at this, especially coming off the last one. I miss the dog. Um, but one of the things that we do is what you mentioned, a usability test. And I learned to do a usability test by reading a book by a guy named Steve Krug, Krug. I had a graphic designer 15 years ago who handed me that book and said, read this. They made me read it in class. And it was amazing. He's actually got two. The first is called Rocket Surgery. Well, the first is called Don't Make Me Think, which is about website design. And the second one is called Rocket Surgery Made Easy. And they'll take you an hour to read. They're big font and lots of pictures. It's my kind of book. But they're really about, the second book is about how to run a website usability test, how to find out what real people think and what real people do when they come to your website. And it's actually not that hard. You go get three people. I usually get them off of Craigslist. I like people who are from out of market, so they are only reacting to the website. They don't bring any information from the airwaves into the test. And you sit them down one at a time in front of a computer. We used to do these in person. Now we do them on Zoom because of the pandemic. And we ask them to do some basic things and to think out loud as they do them. And what we're looking for are things that they have trouble doing. And this is not a down to the decimal point type of research. This is a, oh my gosh, I can't believe we didn't think of that kind of thing, you know. And so you'll ask them, hey, you want to advertise on the station, where would you go? And we see if they can figure out how to get where they're going. But when we do this test, the first question we always ask is, what does this organization do? And you'd be surprised. I've had testers who looked at a radio station website for 10 minutes before they figured out that it was a radio station website. And sometimes it's real obvious. If you see 100.3 FM WKRP, okay, I know it's a radio station website. But when it's the Hawk, you know, all of a sudden it's harder to figure that out. Most people, their eyes move in kind of an F pattern. So they start in the top left corner and go across, scan across once, and then they go back and go down, and then they start scrolling down. So they would immediately go to where the logo is on every radio station website. I'm not sure if they would know immediately that that's a radio station website. I see the 100.7, but I don't see an AM or FM. I see the promise. I'm having trouble. Maybe I'm getting old. I'm having trouble making out the words below the promise. That teal. I mean, if I squint, I guess it says Jacksonville's Christian Station, but that's really hard to read. So I'm not sure if they would figure out immediately where their eyes go that this is a radio station website. I think they'd get there because, like you said, it says down in the middle of the page Jacksonville's Christian Station, but that's a ways down, and that's below this slideshow and all these ads. And I think you want to put that right front and center so that people just immediately they go, oh, this is a Christian station. The other question we ask is, where is this station? Here people are going to know it's Jacksonville. You'd be amazed how many radio stations do not say where they are on their website. And the reason they don't is because when we're on the airwaves, we don't have to say it. Everybody else is in the same place. But that's not true on the web. And as a guy who looks at radio station websites every day, all day, it's really frustrating when I'm looking at, and I'm like, where is this station? I don't know what this is. So we'll look at that too.
Okay, and just an additional question on this website. Um, in what ways can this site improve its user experience, and what strengths and opportunities does it have?
So I'll 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 get on my soapbox and rant a little bit here. There is a feature that I do not like on radio station websites at all. I am clearly in the minority because most radio station websites have this, and that is the slideshow that you see going on. And you see these slides. First of all, nobody hangs out on the homepage this long to see all the slides rotate. They are trying to get where they're going. Most of these slides have way too much text. I can't even read them all before it gets to the next slide. There's too much going, but more importantly, that's really prime real estate. And it's, what slideshows do is they settle fights in the building, right? Because you got the promo director who's got their car dealership appearance this weekend, and the music director who wants to plug the C-level band, and the salesperson who has to give some love to Dunkin' Donuts and, sorry, Tim Hortons. And
Great correction.
and and so it's like Oprah. It's like you get a slide and you get a slide and you get a slide and you get a slide, but that's not from the listener's point of view or the visitor's point of view. I mean, from the visitor's point of view, this is about them, and what do you want them to know? You want them to know what the station is about. So I would, the slideshows were designed for news sites or blog sites where there is constantly a new news story and you need to change and you need to rotate, and that makes sense if you're CNN. But it doesn't make sense for most music websites. I would pull that and I would put right there front and center. Think of it like a billboard, and who are your core artists? What's the number one thing you want to, if you're a news talk station, it's your personalities. If you're, what is the one single message that you want to get across, and get that across instead of these 50 rotating minor messages.
Wow,
All right,
great,
I'll
great
get off
stuff.
soapbox. I'll step down now.
Thank you so much. Very insightful. Moving over to you, Marley. Um, Looking at the social integration of this website, what do you think they are doing really effectively here, and what would you recommend them to do to bring it to the next level?
Yeah, so what I noticed on every page that was really great was these socials at the bottom of each page um, to share them. So everywhere there's the opportunity to share the entire page. You can see share this right at the bottom, and all of those different socials that you want to share with. When you select on the blogs, the exact same socials appear on the page. So it's all cohesive. You're giving the opportunity to share that information and to share your website. So that looks awesome across the board. One item I think I would change from this homepage, since the sharing is at the bottom and we can see all of those social icons, this Facebook being a main component of this menu item, I don't think needs to be there. When they scroll down to the bottom, and again on every page, they can find Facebook and they can have the ability to share for that. So I think there isn't really a need for that to take up space in the in the menu, especially since there's no cohesiveness with that actual Facebook icon. Um, the only suggestion I would have for this outside of that is for the events calendar. When you select on that tab, that main page is shareable. But I think what would be beneficial, again, just like sharing your blogs, is the ability to share the actual event information. So selecting on the event item in the calendar, it brings up that event information, but there didn't seem to be a way to actually share that. It was taking you off the page to the actual um, event site, which is no problem. But I think the ability to share that specific event information would be valuable to listeners who either want to share it on their social or share it with someone because they want to like book those tickets or go to that site or whatever that is.
Okay, Marley, thank you so much for that. That was very good. As for the branding of this site, Seth, what areas do you think Jacksonville Radio is doing well in? And what are some of the opportunities that you see and anything you think that they could be doing better? Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I like again, the question we'll ask is, what does this organization do? I think people will figure out that it's a Christian radio station, and that it's in Jacksonville. I think the logo looks great. I like the color scheme. It's a little too busy. I'd like to see less going on. The next thing that we'll often ask in a usability test is we'll go through the menu and we'll say go through the main menu, don't click on each item, but tell us what you would expect to see if you did click on it. And a lot of these things people will know. Events calendar, people will know what that is. Blog, people know what it is. Who is Jesus, people will know what it is. Contact, people will know. On air, usually what people really mean is DJs, because everything you do is on air. Your ads are on air, your music is on air. But if you actually, can you go into the sub menu there?
Let me try and pull all this stuff in front down. See, that's been my issue here. Trying to pull everything down so I can get to the actual websites without interrupting the whole thing here.
The sub menu may offer us some more clues, and so it might be okay.
Okay, so
The
which
thing,
menu is that?
the on air, if you hover over
Okay,
that
let me
one.
hover over that one. Yeah.
Okay, programming schedule, shows, listen live. Yeah, I'll be able to figure that out. Most websites have a catch-all where they just shove everything else they couldn't figure out where else they went. I bet they did that with contact here. So go to contact. Let's see what's under there.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't, yeah, but these are kind of okay. I would pull that advertise with us link. That's one of the most important pages on your website. I would pull that out of the sub menu and put it up in the main menu. Because if you want people to go to that page, that's a really important page to drive traffic to.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So is there anything else you'd like to add about this website, Marley?
I think a lot of what my thoughts on this were the same as Seth's. It's just very busy landing on here. Moving this Jacksonville Christian Station area to um, again, the focus be playing the listen live if that's what we want the action to be the main focus. This listen live action in the menu is not bad, but we really want to draw attention to that either that listen live button and have it be on this homepage and be much larger, or like I said, bring that Jacksonville Christian Station up to really be the focus of what we're doing here on the website.
Right. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So we're going to head into our final website here. And this one is kroxam.com. And this is the last site of the day. So moving over to you, Seth, what do you like about this site? And what are some of the opportunities that you think we can share with our friends at KROX to help enhance their user experience?
Yeah. So what I like about it, again, the first question we would ask is, what does this organization do? I think you can see real clearly this is a radio station when you see KROX 105.7 FM. That's clear. We might ask, where is it? And it's obvious that it's in Crookston. I don't know where Crookston is, but if you do, then you know exactly where this radio station is. So I think that's great. We did take a sneak peek at this before, and Marley was able to figure out what the format of this radio station is, and I was wrong. I guess I immediately thought K Rock, and so I thought K Rocks was that, and so I thought it was a rock station. And Marley pointed out, no, she thinks it's a talk station because it's the voice of the valley. And I think after looking at it more, I think she's right. So I think something that makes it a little clearer what you would expect to hear when you tuned into the radio station would be helpful. Those ads are too prominent. And again, this is an issue I see with a lot of radio station websites. I know you got to please the advertisers, but don't do it at the expense of the main station. And then there's just stuff up here that doesn't need to be here. The date doesn't need to be there. The address, that's not the place for the address. That should go down in the bottom. That listen live button, like we saw, particularly on the first website, but even on the last website, that's one of the most important links on this homepage. That shouldn't be buried up there at the top. I guess it is there twice now that I am looking at it.
Yeah, I see they're in Minnesota because it says here their main address, the full address is there. So maybe that's what they thought. Everyone's going to know who we are because our whole address is at the very top. But the I is kind of drawn to the KROX, right? The voice of the valley. And
Kind
I'm
of, but
thinking,
the eye
okay.
isn't really drawn to anything. Like there's a lot of things competing for your eyes. I mean, everything's kind of given equal weight, and I think that that's one of the issues. Where again, going back to that first website with the dog, there was only
Mhm.
like your eyes knew exactly where to go. It wasn't trying to look at a lot of different things and figuring out where it was going. Look, not everything is equally important on the website. Some things are more important than others, and you should elevate those things. And frankly, the things that are less important, you should really remove, except if people want to get to it through the main menu. So I think it's about I think the answer usually is not in what do we add to the website, it's in what can we take away.
Oh, I see. Exactly. Yeah, take away some of the busyness and let your eyes focus on where you actually want it to go, right?
When you subtract, you get more. I don't know how that works. All my teachers were wrong.
Yeah. And Marley, what sort of recommendations do you have for KROX as well as some things that you might have noticed on the website?
Um, yeah, I think Seth and I are just on the same page about this banner at the top. There's just a lot of repetitive information. Where the date and listen live and contact us are, that's just an additional menu which comes right after all of the logo and information, or sorry, all of the menu information. So I think that repetitiveness just isn't necessary. Um, the social icons at the top here, this seems like the very first action we want our listeners to do are come to the site and then be taken away to our social pages, which I don't think is the necessarily what we want. I would move these all to the footer. And I did see that in all of the blog posts, there was the opportunity to share again with all the social media. So that's all great and that all exists throughout your website. So having this be one of the first actions for people who join the page just isn't, we don't want them leaving this page. The other thing I would just suggest here is if listening to the station is, again, the main thing that we want here, this listen live button is ultimately buried within the menu. It's the exact same text, it's the exact same size. I do think there's a drop down to listen to podcasts and potentially a recording, and I think also the live stream. So I do see why that drop down exists, but I would really like to see a large listen live button that is clickable either in this banner image somewhere or before these advertisements that are happening at the top here. So that's just there.
Okay,
Can I
wonderful.
reiterate and build on something that Marley said, because I think
Sure.
what she's saying about social media is really important. The way I describe social media is that you want to be on social media for the same reason that you want to put a billboard by the highway. You want to put a billboard by the highway is because everybody drives down the highway and you want them to see you. Everybody goes to social media, you want them to see you. When you put a billboard by the highway, your hope is that they see your billboard and then they go to your station and they tune in. With social media, your hope is that they see your content and then they click through and they come to your website. The last thing you then want to do is turn them around and go back. Like, that'd be like going and using your airwaves to tell everybody, hey, everybody, we got a billboard. Go check it out. It's by the highway. Like, you don't, that's not the direction you want the traffic going. You want it to go from the billboard to the radio station. You want it going from social media to the website. Once you finally get them to the website, the last thing you want to do is send them back to where they came from. And LinkedIn is an odd choice. Have as your scroll up there. What were those 4 choices
Yeah. Um,
of social networks?
LinkedIn,
Facebook,
Yeah,
Twitter, LinkedIn, and what's that last one?
it's Pinterest.
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Okay. Okay.
Facebook and Twitter, I get, maybe Instagram, although this might not be the right demo, but LinkedIn strikes me as odd.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I guess they know their audience, and I don't know how many people are on LinkedIn. I'm sure there's quite a few million.
I look, I mean, I think there's lots of people on LinkedIn. I just think it's a business site. It's for business to business.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there is I mean, I suppose you could build a case for it. I might be wrong, particularly if for a news talk station, it might be different. But
Yes, maybe that's it. Mm-hmm. Good. So if I'm scrolling through their news section here, you mentioned some ways to improve the content, Seth. Would you be able to elaborate on what you think about their local news?
um, so as I'm scanning it, um, again, there's a lot of things competing for attention here. I think the headlines are getting cut off. I think that's what those ellipses are. Crickton, reminder of fireworks and,
Mm-hmm.
I think, look, I don't think that excerpt under there is doing anything. I would rather see the entire headline. Um, I would prefer to see the headline in title case, not all capital. When people are scanning, I had a very influential graphic designer now that I'm talking about it. One of the things that I remember her telling me is that people have a much easier time scanning text very quickly when it's both in title case or just capitalized like normal. But when it's in all caps and all the letters are basically the same size and shape, it becomes much harder to read. And so people can't scan it as easily. So I probably wouldn't go in all caps there. I mean, you can see the graphics matter, and a lot of these graphics are getting cut off. The sit Rooks, there. I would pay attention to those images and make sure they're cropped correctly. I think images matter. I mean, you can see the compelling images, like the sparkler is really compelling. If you go down to the sports, the guy, I think he's catching a ground ball there. That's really compelling. But then you get over to, I don't know, that a bunch of guys standing in our line and I mean, think about how big the
Mm-hmm.
images are and whether they're really compelling. So
Right, right. That all makes sense. And I didn't even realize that about everything being in all caps. You would think that if you put something in all caps, it's going to make it stand out more, right?
it, well, it's gonna make you feels like you're yelling. I'm yelling at me.
Yep, I've learned not to put caps in a text. Somebody told me that.
Did you learn the hard way?
Yeah, I think so. I think we all did. So let's talk a little bit about social integration. Marley, did they properly integrate social media? Could you share your insight on what KROX should do next?
Sure, and I think I've already touched on that a little bit. I would just remove that from the banner up top, and I do believe all their socials in the footer, which is really great. And like I said, they're all in their blog posts, which is really great. what I am seeing on a lot of pages and a lot of the blog posts, besides this follow us and sharing item, which I think is very cohesive. I like this follow us in the footer where it's just Facebook, Twitter, and um, YouTube potentially. We might want to again swap that out with maybe one of, if LinkedIn is the more important one, that could probably go there. But at the very top of this page, again, we're seeing one of the first items be taking them to social right under the news. So we have the banner, we have advertisements, we have social, and then we're getting to the latest news pieces. So if getting to the stream and listen live isn't the most important item, and we want listeners to be jumping on here and going through all of the news, we might just want to omit this social media at the top of this page. And that's the same with the blogs as well. When you click on any of the blogs, the very first item that appears are these social items that again are taking them away from the site and is the very first action rather than actually reading the blog. So I think having just those socials in a cohesive style at the end of the footer is just a great place to house your social media.
Right.
Let me ask you a
Right.
question, Marley. If you were, let's say you own the Crookston Honda dealership and you wanted to advertise on this station,
Mhm.
where would you where would you click? Where would you go?
Yeah, great question. I did see what you do need to do. So right above where these two ads are, you can see the advertise your business email. I think that's Chris at,
Wait, where'd you see that? I didn't see that.
yep, it's right. So where the menu, home news, sports, weather, community,
Mm-hmm.
right in between, there's a very light text
Oh
that says
man, your eyes are better
advertise
than
on here.
mine.
And to email. So yeah, I meant to mention this as well because I did notice that earlier, is that this is where we're supposed to see to email. I think it was Chris. Um,
That-
but yeah, that is just that looks like it's the heading for the actual advertising space that exists rather than information of who to reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, again, I would pull that advertise page out. I just make it its own menu item. If people want to give you money, make it as easy as possible for them.
So would you make it a button, maybe?
I'd probably make it a menu item. I don't think it's quite at the level of listen now, but it's pretty close.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and then I put it again in the footer because I do think people will also go to the footer to look for it. But I wouldn't bury it under a connect or a contact us or something like that. Um, and I
Right.
would give it its own page. I wouldn't just assume that people are going to figure out they should send a message to the contact us page. Give us an advert and spend some time writing that advertise with us page. I mean, make that compelling. You know, somebody who has gotten to that page wants to give you money, or at least express some interest in that. Really, really make it compelling.
Okay. So just a quick extra question I have for you, Marley, because I work with you every day and I know what you do for, for everyone every day, which is amazing. You you look at these websites all day as well, right? And are you seeing websites that look like this and everyone thinks this is fantastic? No changes need to be made. I like things the way they are. Do you get people like that? And how do you cross that barrier with them?
Yeah, I mean, um we do get clients who have their website looking very similar or very similar to the other ones as well, and um, you know, have had this website for a while and know how to update it, know what they want on here, and are happy with the way things are. I mean, ultimately, um, making change to your site is only a good thing. And it helps not only refresh it for your listeners who have been coming to this website, but it refreshes it for new generations that are coming to the website. And also, things are always changing in the radio industry, and things are definitely always changing in tech and for websites. So the abilities, there's always new enhancements and new abilities that are being integrated to these types of sites to um, benefit our radio partners and to also benefit the listeners to be more engaged onto the site. So really, I think the main thing to think about when you're going to your website is just how are we going to, is this engaging to our listeners when they get on here? And is it accomplishing what we want it to accomplish? So I think those are the big two questions to just consider and to really consider making those changes to accomplish the Listen Live button and, all of those great enhancements.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Marley. That's wonderful. And Seth, do you have anything to add to that or?
Yeah, along those lines, I mean, radio stations have a bad habit of asking what other radio stations are doing. And when you're looking at what your website should look at, stop looking at other radio stations and just look at other businesses that are outside, the industry, and see what they're doing and see what you can learn. I've actually looked at every single website on the entire internet, and I found the single best website out there. Write this down. I'll tell you what it's google.com. Fantastic website. Uh, this is a company that did $257 billion in business last year. They make money off of more things than you could ever possibly imagine. And you go to their homepage, and it is the simplest homepage you could find. So you don't need everything on your homepage. If Google doesn't, you don't. And they're really good at what they do. So that would be my biggest tip, would be just take inspiration from outside the radio industry.
Great, great insights, both of you. Thank you so much. So it's time to wrap things up. And both of you, Seth and Marley, have provided us with a lot of insight and a lot of takeaways. And we value that today. And we'd like to say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. You guys are awesome. And for the attendees here, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to let you know that we would be happy to offer a free digital assessment for all of you, if you like. So we can formalize the process, show you what we've learned, and give you suggestions on how you can go back and update your websites. You can always email me, carol@socastdigital.com, and we will be sending all of you a copy of the presentation deck as well as the recording of this session. So many thanks to our experts and attendees. And thank you everyone very much for coming.